Brinda Adige, what do you make of this incident? What was your first reaction when you heard the horrific details of this crime? And also, Brinda, the fact that till now, no suspect has been arrested.
I'm appalled. I'm also outraged because they talk about rape as a byproduct of racial aggravated crime, hate crime. Now, that isn't how news should be given, especially in a country like UK that calls itself developed, because how would they call if it was a white man raping a white woman? And if he might have called any names to her, whatever it might be, would they then talk about the slur first and then the heinous crime like rape? Or will they say she was raped and these were the slurs also hurled at her? Because it is very important. What is the narrative that is getting set over here? She is a British citizen, period. Her origins are not really required just now when you're talking of a very violent, heinous crime like rape. So, yes, they must talk about rape because I'm sure, and I know a little bit about the UK law where rape is treated very, very seriously. That said, they can then add the sections to say, along with her being violated, these were also slurs that were hurled at her by these two people. So we will also add the hate crimes and the racial discrimination and the racial violence that has been meted out to her verbally and otherwise. Because if they don't set this kind of a tone, then we don't know what can be the arguments of the prosecutor in court. I'm not too sure how their courts function, but it is important that there was a British citizen who was raped. Okay, the white man raped a so-called brown-skinned woman and hurled these slurs at her, but rape is the main crime. And that is what needs to get set and put on paper, because everybody will say, okay, it was, what would you do if it is an African woman? What would you do if it's a Mexican woman? How do you use this kind of a racial profiling for rape? Rape is a heinous crime. That has to be accepted. And after that, we go forward. Now, like Madam Mukherjee pointed out, 2 days down the line, nothing has happened. Have they put out a bolo? Is it there on all their TV channels saying that this is the kind of, whatever, facial recognition, whatever it is. And so we are asking all of you to start looking out for them. We also know that UK is a country and Oldbury is probably a town that has a lot of CCTV cameras. And I'm sure parks also have. People could have been going in and coming out. Well, it's not so difficult for them in this age and time to make use of technology and find out how many people went in and how many people went out of that park at any given point of time, or, the next 1 kilometer radius that is there around that park. For them to identify people, maybe wearing hoodies and all of those kind of things, but it is not difficult to trace who went in and who went out. Because we must not assume that the police are looking out and the police are now, asking support from people. If they continue to talk about racial aggravated crime, then a lot of it is, because you are here in this country, because you're, and like we heard from the first panelist, Indians or Indian origin people are very hardworking. Not only that, the Gurdwaras are very generous. Now, all of that said and done, how come racial discrimination and aggravation and violence does not enter over there at that time? So we want to address the crime against women. It is a gender-based violence. It is rape. And then you talk about racial aggravated crime. And all the sections must be put down so clearly that their punishments that is meted out to them, I'm sure, is separate, and that is how they must be punished. Whoever these rapists are, we can't simply call them perpetrators and culprits. They are rapists. And these rapists probably are roaming around free because with impunity, when we talk of it being racial, somewhere there's some kind of a excuse that is given saying, they were angry. They are angry that you are in our country. Because now we know hate crimes are almost in every other country. Everybody is angry about somebody else. All of us are migrants across the world. But that said, we also know a lot of right-wing hate that is being propagated. And that is the kind of narration that we want to arrest and say they are citizens of that nation, of the country called UK. And that means we want to address it from there. Gender based violence, rape, and now protection for every woman, irrespective of what racial origins people might be, and to also promote from the politicians and leaders who rarely talk about this kind of human rights that every citizen in UK enjoys, to be reiterated again and again. And it is important to put that narrative in place.